Hi everyone, in this video we are going to solve a new problem. The problem name is construct quadry and the problem number is 427. Fine. First of all, we are going to clearly understand what this problem says. After that, we are going to move to the logic part, and after that we are going to implement our logic in C++, Java and Python programming language. Fine. Now guys, let's see what this problem says. Given an enclosed matrix and the name of the matrix is nothing but grid. Fine. And inside of this grid, we can either have 0 or 1. That means there is going to be only two values. Either it can be 0 or 1. Now we want to represent the grid with a quadry. Well, let's now we have to represent our matrix nothing but with a quadry. Now, what is this quadry? We're going to understand this later on. And after that, we're going to say return the root of quadry. Okay, so now we have to return the root of that particular quadry. Fine. Now, guys, let's see what is this a quadry. So, guys, like a tree, we have nothing but three things, right? First is a value, which represent whether what is the value of that particular node. Then left pointer, then right pointer. Left pointer point to the left node, right pointer point to the right node. Same in this particular quadry, we have a node. This is a node, and there we have a value which is going to represent the value of that particular node. And is leaf is going to be true if that particular node is a last node, leaf node, and otherwise it is going to be false. Fine. And after that, we can say there are going to be four pointers instead of two. Rather than two, we can say in tree we have two, right? But here we are going to have four pointers, like top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. So here, if you can say that this is node, then it can have four, right? And in tree we have only two, right? So this is only the difference. In quad tree we are going to have four pointer, the first pointing to top left, second top right, and third bottom left, and fourth bottom right, right? Now guys, it says that value is going to be true if the node representative of grid is 1. Otherwise it is going to be 0, right? So it says that value, it can be either 0 or 1 only, but it is going to be 1 only when all the values in your grid are 1. Otherwise it is going to be 0 if your all the values in your grid is going to be a 0. Fine. Now guys, let's see the next part of this particular problem. So because this is a bigger problem, so let's understand from this particular grid now what this problem says. So now guys, you can see that, let's say I'm going to say this is grid which is 4 into 4, right? And I'm going to assign the values 0 inside of this grid. Fine. So let me assign all the values are 0. Now guys, it says that if all the values in a grid are same, that means that is going to be a leaf node, right? So remember this thing, leaf node is going to be when all the values inside of tree or inside of this matrix is going to be same. So leaf node is going to be 10, right? Fine. If it is a leaf node, then you have to make is leaf true. You are going to make it true, and value is going to be nothing but the same as the value inside of grid. So here, if we have a 0, so it is going to be 0. But if we have all the values are 1, then value is going to be a 1. I hope this makes sense. Okay. And if there is not a same values inside of grid, let's say here is a 1, right? And here also a 1. So that means there is not all the values are not same inside of our grid. Then we can say this is not going to be leaf node. So we can say is leaf is going to be false. And the value you can give anything. You can give it a 0 or 1. Doesn't matter if it is not a leaf node. Fine. And also you have to move to the top left part, top right part, bottom left part, and bottom right part. Fine. So now how you can move to that particular part? So you can see that here. So it says that guys, nothing but we have this grid and all the values are not same. We can say, assume this thing right now. So top left part is going to be this particular part. As it is a square matrix, so we can say top left part is going to be this particular part, and top right this part, bottom left this particular part, bottom right this particular part. Now how we can divide this particular part? You can see that we can say if this rows are going, first of all, let's take a whole grid. So rows are 0 to 4 and column also 0 to 4, right? So this top left part is going to be 0 to 2, and column is going to be nothing but 0 to 2. And this particular 0, we can say rows are 0 to 2 but column 2 to 4. And here rows are 2 to 4 and column are 0 to 2. And here rows are 2 to 4 and column also 2 to 4. So this is how we can divide our grid into top left, top right, top bottom left, and bottom right part. And I believe by this, I told you this particular idea, you can easily solve this particular problem by without watching this, what we can say the video full, right, complete. So you can solve also. But if still you don't have any idea, if you didn't get how we can solve this, let's move to the next part. So here what I can say, now we are going to say this particular example, and we're going to see how this particular example has been solved by this LeetCode, right? So we have this particular grid, right? And this is 2 into 2 matrix, we can say, right? Fine. Now what we can do, we can say all the values in this grid are not same, right? You can see here 0 and 1. So what we can say, this is not going to be leaf node, right? So you can see is leaf is nothing but false. Okay, and value they have given 1, you can give it 0, doesn't matter if it is not a leaf node. Fine. Now guys, we are going to move to the all the four parts. So top left part is going to be this one, bottom left is going to be this one, and top right is going to be this one, and bottom right is going to be this one. Fine. Now guys, top left is having all the values are same in top left, that is 0. So value is 0, is leaf is true. Bottom left is also going to be, we can say nothing but 0 or 1. So value is going to be 1 and is leaf is 1. And we can say top right also, we can say all the values are same, that is 1. So value is 1 and is leaf is true. And bottom right also value is 0 and is leaf is true. and it was an easy problem. We can say it is example. So let's move to the next example, which is gonna clear your mind definitely. If you still have any kind of doubt, you can understand this particular problem by just this particular example 2, right? This is example 2, and definitely you will have a better idea once you complete this particular example. So let's see what this example says. So here we have this particular example, right? So we can say all the values are not same. This is 1, this is 0, right? We can say this all the values are not same. So is leaf is going to be false. You can focus over here. This is false. Is leaf is 0, and value you can give 1 or 0, right? Doesn't matter if it is a leaf node, right? Now guys, it's gonna divide into top left and bottom left. So we can say top left is this, and top right is this particular part, and bottom left is this particular part, and bottom right is this particular part, right? Now guys, you can see this is top left, right? Top left, you can see all the values are same, that is 1. So they give is leaf is true and value is 1. We are not going to proceed further because this is going to be leaf node. But if it is not inside this, you can see top right, you can see that all the values are not same. This is 0 and 1. So we can say it is not going to be leaf node. It is going to leaf is going to be false, right? And value is going to be anything. If they give 1, you can give it 0 as well. And bottom left, easily if you can see bottom left is this part, and you can see all the values are 1. So easily if is going to be true and value is going to be 1. And bottom right, you can see easily if is 1, that means it is a true, right? If it is you can see that easily if is 1 because all the values inside of this bottom right part are 0, right? All the values are same, so easily if is 1 and value is going to be the 0 because all the values whatever the value inside of your grid, right? Now guys, we are going to explore further top right part because here easily if is not true, we can say, right? It is false. So because the values are not same inside of it, right? So now we are going to say it is also going to divide it into 4 parts. So top right part I'm going to divide into 4 parts. That is nothing but first part is going to be this one, and first part means that is top left, this is bottom left, this is top right, this is bottom right. Fine. Now you can see all the values inside if your top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right are same, right? You can see here we have all zeros, all one, all one. So it is also going to be all the nodes are also going to be leaf node, right? So now guys, I believe that by this you will have a better idea and you must understood this particular problem, what this form says, how we are going to solve this particular problem, right? So now let's move to the logic part, how we are going to proceed with our we can simply coding part. So we are going to say we are going to implement one function which is going to be function which is going to tell us that all the values inside of your grid are same or not. So this function is going to tell us that. So let's give it a function name, nothing but we can say proceed, or we can say let's say all values, right? So all values is going to be tell us that whether we have all values inside of grid are same, all the values are same or no, right? So if this function is going to true, then we can say this is our leaf node and we are going to nothing proceed further. But if it is going to return false, so let me say if all values is nothing but false, then we can say we are going to create a node where the left node is also going to be passed, and left top left also going to be proceed, top right also going to proceed. So let me write top right, and bottom left also, and bottom right also, right? So these all nodes are going to be proceed if this is false, right? So how these are going to proceed, we can say that for this particular node, for this particular nodes and for all this particular node, we are going to dividing our rows, right? So how we can say this is going to be 0. So initially if it was 0, let's say this is let me define it with a clear idea. So we have a function, let me write here. So this is let's say a function, right? And here start rows, start column, and we can say let me add start rows, end rows, start column, end column, right? So this is a function. If it is the function and if all the values are not same, it's all function, all values function, it is false, then what we can do, we can say that we are going to create a node, right? Definitely we are going to create a node, and let's say node is nothing but, let me define a new color. So let's say there is a node, so we have created a node, fine. And here this node, we are going to say nothing but, I'm going to say this is going to be value can be anything, it is false, right? And leaf node is going to be false. Now this node dot top left, we can say top left, node dot, so let me write node dot top right, node dot top bottom same, right? So this is we are going to define top left, but we are going to pass, we are going to say start row is going to be same, we are going to start from that particular part for top left, but end rows is going to be changes by start row plus the half of end rows minus start row divided by 2. See, focus over this particular grid, right? So here initially what we have, you can see that we have nothing but 0 to 8, right? Our rows also going to be 0 to 8 and column also going to be 0 to 8, right? And indexes, if we talk about indexes, 0 to 7, right? So right now for top left, what we have to see, I have to say this is going to be my particular grid, right? This should be my grid, right? So it is going to be 0 to 4 and 0 to 4, right? So I can pass here start row plus start row is 0 and start column is going start end row is going to be nothing but start row plus half 8 minus 0 divided by 2, right? So start row plus half of this, right? So this is half we can calculate by just dividing end row minus 4, right? 8 minus 0 divided by 2, right? So I can say plus half. I hope this makes sense. And same with we can say column, start column comma start column plus half. So this is all we are going to do for top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. For bottom left, we are going to change nothing but column. Same we are going to do with the top, bottom left and with bottom right, right? So we are going to dividing our grid into 4 parts if that particular node is not a leaf node, right? So now let's see with the coding part how we can do this particular part. If still you have any kind of doubt, you can write in the comment section. I'm always there to help you. Now let's see the implementation part and let's try to understand from there. And definitely you will have a better idea if you still have any kind of doubt by the coding part. So first of all, I'm going to do with the Python programming language. So let's move to with the Python. So here, first of all, I'm told you that we are going to create a function. That function, let's say define. So we are going to say all values, right? All values. It is going to take nothing but we can say self argument, then grid, then start row and end row, start column and column. Fine. And here we can say the value is going to be initially is going to be grid of start row and start column. Fine. And we are going to traverse for I in range of start row and row, for j in range of start, let me write range of start column and column. Fine. And here I can say if grid of I, let me write grid I and j is not equal to, let me write j, is not equal to my value. That means they are, we don't have a same value inside of our grid. We can say return false, right? So we can directly say return false. But if the values are going to be same, then definitely it's not going to come in that particular condition. So we can say return true, right? At the end, we can say all the values are same. Fine, I hope this much makes sense, right? Now, if it doesn't make sense, we are going to call a function define solve, which is going to have start rows, end rows, start column, end column, right? Here I can say if, we can say nothing but what we can say, if this self dot all values are same. That means all values are same. If it is true, right? Start row, end row, start column, end column. If it is true, that means we can say that it is going to be leaf node. So we can say return node, and we can pass the value which is on that particular value, right? Grid, start row, and start column. And we can say nothing but true. Leaf node is true. But if it is not the case, then we can say we're going to create a node. Definitely we're going to create a node. The value can give anything. So let's say I give 1, and here I can pass a false. Is leaf is false. And we're going to explore for top left, and let me write it top right, no dot top right. Fine. And we are going to explore for top bottom left. Fine. And bottom right, right? So no dot bottom right. Fine. So we are going to explore for these particular things. So we can say nothing but, first of all, I'm going to calculate the half. So half is nothing but going to be start and rows minus start row divided by 2. Fine. Now what I can say node of flat also going to be called this function solve. And for this start row plus half, and let me write here and we can say start column, right? And start column plus half, right? And for this particular right part, what we can say start row is going to be same start row plus half, but end start column plus half comma end column. Same for bottom left, we can say sol, and here I can say start row plus half comma end rows, and start column comma start column plus half. And here for bottom right, we can say start row plus half, let me write plus half, and like half, and end rows, and here also start column plus half, and here we can say let me write half, and here end column, right? So once we are done this, we are going to say return node. So we, after that, we are going to call this function return solve, and here we can say start row is going to be 0, end row is going to be grid length of grid, then 0 length of grid, right? Fine. Now let's try to run this code and see whether this code is working or not. And I got an error because I haven't passed my grid, right? So I have to pass a grid as well. So like this, pass it grid. Fine. Now let me run this code and see whether we are getting any more error or not. So let me see that. You can see all the test cases are passed. So let's try to submit this code and see whether we got any error or not while submitting the code. And I believe I should not get, right? So you can see that my test or we can say my problem solution got accepted, right? So okay. Now let's move to the description part and let's change the language to C++. Fine. Now in this C++, where is the code? Okay, so much implementation for C++. Fine. Let me give some value first of all here. Okay, and here guys, first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one function, right? So let me write here one function that is going to be bool, and it is going to be all values, right? Fine. And it is also going to take vector, or let me copy it from here only. So why to write? We need to write this much part, right? Fine. I'm a lazy type of person, right? Okay. After that, I go to part start rows and end row, start column and end column, right? Fine. Once we are done this, we are going to say int value is nothing but, we can say nothing but grid of start row and start column. Fine. Now we are going to say for int I is equal to 0, I is equal to start row, right? And I less than start call end call, and I can say I plus plus, right? And after that, for int j is equal to nothing but we can say start column and j is less than end column and j plus plus. And if value, I told you that if value, if grid of I and j is not equal to our value, that means this is not, this grid does not have same value, so we can say return false. But if it is the case, then return true. Fine. And let me see whether we have done an error in this or no. No, we haven't done, right? Now we are going to create one more function that is nothing but, let me define here. I can say this function is also going to be node, and here this function is the name I'm going to give sol, and this also nothing, it's going to have nothing but that vector, and that int start row and start end rows in start column in end column. Fine. And once we are done these things, we are going to say if that all values of grade start row end rows start column end column is true. If it is true, so what we can say, if it is true, then what we can say, nothing but we can, let me go there, we can say we are gonna make this our this node is leaf node, so I can say return new node that is nothing but going to be leaf node. So the value is going to be grid of start row start and start column, and the what we are going to say, the is leaf node is going to be true, right? Is leaf node is going to be true, and that's all. We are not going to proceed for the top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. But if it's not the case, then what we are going to do, we are going to create a node. So we are going to create a node, so that node is going to be nothing but node. Let me write here node, first of all node, and wait, node is going to be new node, and here we are going to say grid can be anything, and this state is going to be false, is leaf is false. And after that we are going to proceed for left part node, left part left, we can say top left. Fine. So this is going to be solved, as we have already seen that it is going to take a half thing, right? So let me define here in half, which is going to be end row minus start row. Let me write here end row bracket end row minus start row. Okay, and divide by 2, right? So here I can say it is going to be start row comma start row plus half, and here end, and we can say and start column comma start column plus half, right? This is going to be top left part. Same, let me copy for all this part. So it is going to be top left top right. Okay, so what we are going to change is in top right part, we are going to say start row and start plus half is going to same, but end column is it is going to be different, right? So start column plus the half is going to be comma end column. So we have changes the column, we have moved our column part ahead, right? Now for bottom left, so what is going to be doing bottom left? So for bottom left, we are going to say start row plus half is going to be changes, right? So we are ahead with the rows, and let me write here end rows, and column is going to be same, right? So we can see start column comma start column plus half. Fine. And what is going to be top right, we can say bottom right part. So let me write here right. So what is going to changes with right part, we can say start row and start, it is definitely going to changes. So we have ahead with the row as well as column part, right? So it is going to be end rows and start column plus half comma end column plus part. I hope this much makes sense. Once we are done this thing, we are going to return our node. Fine. So once we are written with node, let's call this particular function. So I'm going to say return sol. We're going to pass grid start row is going to be 0, and the end row is going to be grid dot size. Let me write size, and again 0, again grid dot size. Let me run this code to the code, and let me see my test case are passing or not. So no, we have got an error. That is nothing but int I is equal to start row. In what is its error? Okay, so okay, I have to use a comma. I have to use a colon, right? Semicolon. Fine. Okay, tell me whether we have any more error. We have a half error, right? So it says that we have to post start row start column. Okay, so we are using okay, so now we don't pass this particular, as in Python we have to pass, we don't need to pass, but here we have to pass grid, right? So I'm going to pass grid my, fine, and here we have to pass grid. Okay, and here also we have to pass our grid, right? Fine. Now let's try to run this code, and I believe I should not have any error, right? And my test case are passed, right? So let's try to submit this code, and it also gets submitted successfully. Fine. Now it keep motivating me. So now let me do with a Java programming language. Fine. So now this with this Java, what we are going to do, first of all, we are going to create a function. First of all, let's make this screen little in between. So I'm going to create one function that is nothing but public all values. Let me write the boolean all values. Fine. And this is going to take first of all grid. So in let me write a grid in the start row in the start column and into not start column and rows in the start columns in end column, right? Fine. And this is not going to be grid. This what we need to, okay, so let's make it grid only, right? Fine. Now what I'm going to say int value is nothing but going to be grid of start row start column, right? Fine. Now what we can say we are going to say for int I is equal to 0 I less than grid, sorry, if int I is equal to start row and I should be, let me write, I should be less than end row, right? And I plus plus, and here I can say for int j is equal to nothing but start column and j less than end column and j plus plus, right? And here we can say if grid of I and j is going to be equal to, if it is equal to, or we can say if it is not equal to value, that means all the values are not same, right? So we can say return false. But if it is not the case, we come out from this loop, that means all the values are same, we can say return true, right? Fine. Once we are done this, we are going to create one more function that is nothing but going to be a sort, right? Public sort function, and this is also going to return a node. So node, and this function is also going to have the same value. So let me copy all this value, right? Fine. So I copied all this value, I pasted over here, and here I'm going to say if this all values, let me write here all values. If all values of this particular things, we can say grid and start row. So let me write all this again. So start row, start column, end rows, start column, end column. So if all these are true, if this is returning me true, that means this is a leaf node, right? So I can say this is nothing but a leaf node. So I can say return node, and here what I can pass return node. So let me write new node, and here I'm going to pass nothing but we can say the value is going to be grid of, we can say start row and start column, and we can say here nothing but true, right? So we can say true is leaf is true. But if it's not a leaf node, then what we can say, we are going to create a node definitely. So we can say node is going to be nothing but node of, we can say 1, and we can say false, leaf node is not true, right? And after that we can say int half is going to be end row minus end column and divided by 2, right? Or we can say start row by start column, both are going to be same, right? If you will write this thing or that last particular thing, so which have write er minus ec, both are going to work same, right? But for my satisfaction I wrote this thing, right? Now what I can say, I have to explore for left part, so node dot left part, so top left, okay, and it is going to be solved. Here I'm going to pass grid and start row is going to be same, and end row is going to be changed by start row plus half, and start column is going to say start column plus half. Fine. So I'm going to copy this thing 4 times, and here the second time I'm going to explore for bottom, top right, sorry. Fine. Here start row and start plus half is going to same, and end start column is going to change by start column plus half and end column. Fine. And now I am going to do with bottom left, and here what I can say grid start row, and here start row is going to be changed, row is going to be, we can say shifting. So start row plus half comma start end row, and start column comma start column plus half, right? So now guys, what I can say now the last part is nothing but bottom right. So bottom right, and this is going to be grid start row plus half. That means I'm going to shift right row as well as column both. So it's going to be start row plus half comma end row, and start column comma half start column plus half comma end column, right? Now we can return our node. Now let's try to run this code and see whether it's working fine or not. I haven't called this first of all. It's going to give me an error as well, right? And it is also giving error here as well. So we are going to see it later on. First of all, let me see, right? So here what I can say, I'm going to call this particular function solve. So we can say grade. We can say nothing but row is nothing but 0 and grade dot length, or we can say size as well, right? So here I'm going to say length, and here we can say 0 grade dot length. Fine. Once we are done this, we are going to return these particular things, and here I'm going to say nothing but start row and start column, because I have done something error here. Int cannot convert it into a boolean over here. So what I have done, nothing but node. Okay, so let me see the data type of these things, right? So this is nothing but, it says that, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do these things. So let me make it nothing but grid of row and zeros, right? So it is giving a node is not a symbol. So what they have done, so they have done something node, right? So they have something integer. So I am just saying the sc, I'm passing something else over here. So I have to find out something. Let me see what's, So there are two errors, right? First is int cannot convert it to a boolean. So I'm saying the new node grid of src and sc, right? So this is nothing but it should be either 1 or 0, right? So let me see first of all their data type. So there's one data type with this particular thing, right? I'm using this particular data and there this dot value. So this value is going to be a boolean value, right? So either I have to pass 1 or 2, right? So I can say here if my boolean value is going to be we can say initially 2, right? Fine. If our grid of SR and SC is equal to 1, is equal to 0, right? So then I can say my value is going to be nothing but false, right? And I can pass here value. So first problem is solved, right? Now second problem I'm having is again same this node. So I have to use a new fine. And here again I don't pass 1, I have to pass something. So I have passed it let's say false, right? Now let's try to run this. Okay, stack overflow means something is missing over here. Start row, start column, end column. So all the values fine. Start row, end row, start column, end column fine. So what is missing over here? Start row plus half, start row plus half, and start row plus half, end row, start row plus half, end row. Okay, start column plus half. Everything is fine. Why it is saying the static overflow? Something is quite something is missing, right? So if I say it is true, if I do this thing, let me see whether it's working fine or not. So same thing I'm again getting is that is grid start row, end row, start column, end column. So something is missing over here in this function. Int I is equal to start row and end rows and I plus plus j is less than start column, end column, j plus plus. So it is fine, right? And here it is also fine. If it is true, that means we are going to create a new node, right? Fine. So this is also true. Now guys, there is a missing or something we can say here, right? Start column and start column, right? That is the particular error we are having. So we can say end rows minus start rows, right? Now it should give me node error, right? So let's try to run this code and hopefully if I got accepted thing now, definitely it's gonna be, yeah, you can see that both the test cases are passed and I believe now you understood this problem and definitely it was, I will definitely gonna get an error. Java is definitely a tough programming language for my kind of person, right? So if you still have any kind of, let me first of all submit this thing, right? Let me see whether we are getting any error in submit part or not. So hopefully we do not get any error in submit part. And if you still have any kind of doubt, you can ask in the comment section. And I know it was a really tough part for me as well, but definitely we have solved all this particular problem in Java, C++, and Python programming language. And if you still have any kind of doubt, you can ask in the comment section. And if you learn something new in this video, don't, you can subscribe my channel and also like my particular video. So meet you in the next video.